There are moments in life when your world is spinning, your heart is shattered, and your mind is screaming for answers. And right there, in the storm, is when people make the worst decisions of their life. Don't be that girl. Never, and I mean never, make these 5 decisions when your soul is bleeding. Never make decisions when your ego is bruised, your heart is broken, or your worth feels invisible. Because that's not you thinking. That's your pain making choices for you. You don't burn your life down just because someone didn't see your worth. You don't run back to the wrong person just because the nights got lonely. You don't say yes when your soul is screaming no. And most importantly, you never play small just to make someone else feel big. These are the 5 decisions you never make under pressure, heartbreak, or fear. And today, I'm not here to sugarcoat it, I'm here to wake you up. Because your next decision could define the next 10 years of your life. This one's for you. Never make a decision when you're angry, not because anger is wrong, but because it blinds you. It hijacks your logic, steals your calm, and makes you believe that vengeance is victory. And let me tell you something. Decisions made in rage always come back with consequences wrapped in regret. Think about it. You've had a fight with your partner. Your heart's pounding, your voice is shaking, your pride is bruised. You want to text something back, something sharp, something they'll never forget. But here's the truth. What you say in anger may be the last thing they ever remember about you. And sometimes silence is stronger than 100 angry words. That moment you hit send, it feels powerful. But later, you wish you just walked away, counted to 10, and let your dignity answer for you. Anger isn't power. It's pain screaming for attention. And when you let pain decide, you lose your position. It's like burning a bridge while you're still standing on it. The fire feels good until you realize you have nowhere left to go. Ever slammed the door on a job or opportunity just because your boss criticized you? Or you didn't feel seen? Anger rises, and suddenly you're drafting a resignation letter. They don't deserve me, you say. And maybe they don't. But is this about them? Or is your ego just hurt? That's the catch. Your ego can be loud. And when it gets bruised, it wants revenge, not redemption. It wants drama, not direction. But once that storm passes and you sit with your decision in silence, that's when the regret creeps in. I've seen women throw away years of friendship because of one moment of rage. One misunderstood word, one assumption, one wrong tone, and then comes the text, "Don't ever talk to me again." The moment feels justified. Until later, when you miss the comfort, the laughter, the history, that's when you realize you didn't lose a friend. You let anger make the decision for you. You see, anger is like a temporary blindness. It makes you forget who you are. You don't act from strength. You react from insecurity. And in that reaction, you become someone you later have to apologize for. Or worse, you lose people, chances, and moments you'll never get back. Even as a parent, imagine yelling at your child when they make a mistake. Your voice echoes. You say things that cut deep. Why can't you be more like, "You always disappoint me"? Years later, that child grows into an adult who still hears your anger in the quiet of their confidence, in relationships, in careers, in families. Anger has ruined more than failure ever has. Because failure humbles you, but anger hardens you. It closes your heart. And once your heart is closed, every decision that follows is a defense mechanism, not a dream. Here's the truth no one tells you. Walking away when you're angry isn't weakness. It's war strategy. It's emotional intelligence. It's knowing that not everything deserves a reaction. Some things deserve your peace. And some people don't deserve a front row seat to your storm. Next time anger visits you, and it will, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself, I am not my reaction. I am my response. Because anyone can explode, but only the powerful can pause. The strongest woman in the room isn't the one shouting. She's the one who stays silent, watches everything, and chooses grace over chaos. So if you're tempted to say something just to hurt, to quit just to prove a point, to decide something because you're burning with fury, stop. Not forever, just for now. Wait until the fire cools and your truth speaks louder than your temper. Because the woman who waits to speak with wisdom always walks away with respect. Never decide your worth when you've been rejected. Rejection is not a mirror. It's a moment. But if you stare too long at it, you start believing the lies it reflects. You start thinking, I wasn't good enough. Maybe I never was. And that's the trap. That's the silent heartbreak nobody sees. The one where you begin to measure your value based on someone else's blindness. Let's talk about love. You gave someone your time, your heart, your loyalty. You showed up. You stayed. You believed in something real. And then they walk away. Maybe they ghost you. Maybe they say it's not you, it's them. Maybe they replace you like you were never even there. And in that moment, your mind doesn't just break, it rewinds. It replays every conversation, every laugh, every I love you. And worst of all, it whispers, was I not enough? But that's the lie. Rejection in love doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they weren't capable of receiving the kind of love you give. And that is their limitation, not your definition. How many women sat in job interviews full of dreams, only to hear, we've gone with someone else. And suddenly it's not just a missed opportunity, it feels like a personal attack. You start thinking you're unqualified, invisible, too much or not enough. But you forget, maybe they couldn't see your magic because they were only looking for mediocrity. Maybe your light was too bright for a room that never knew how to shine. Rejection doesn't mean you weren't good enough. It means that door wasn't built to handle the power you bring. Even in friendships, people you trusted, confided in, laughed with, suddenly they stop calling, stop caring, stop showing up, and you feel discarded, like your presence was disposable. But here's the truth. People who leave you when they outgrow your struggle never deserved your victory. They didn't reject you, they freed you. So don't ever let their absence convince you that your presence lacked value. Let's go deeper. Sometimes rejection comes from your own family. Parents who favored a sibling, teachers who overlooked your potential, society that told you you're too dark, too loud, too ambitious. And without realizing it, you start shrinking. You start apologizing for existing too boldly. But rejection from those who never understood your purpose is not a verdict. It's just noise. And you were never meant to build your self-worth in an echo chamber of insecurity. Here's something powerful. Some of the greatest queens, the loudest legends, the fiercest souls, they were all rejected, overlooked, undervalued, until one day they stopped asking to be chosen and started choosing themselves. Because the moment you realize your worth doesn't depend on being accepted is the moment you become unstoppable. Stop looking for approval in places that only offer conditions. Stop letting heartbreak define how beautiful your heart is. Stop believing that someone's inability to love you, promote you, understand you, or stand by you is a reflection of your lack. It is not. If someone can't see your worth, don't you dare hand them the pen to write your story. Pick it back up, write your own, and let every rejection become redirection. You're not here to be chosen. You're here to be realized. And the ones who see your worth, they won't need to be convinced. They was just waiting to be seen by the right eyes. And now, so never ever decide your worth based on who left, who said no, or who couldn't love you right. They were just chapters. You are the whole damn book. Never settle for less just because you're lonely. Loneliness is a feeling, not a reason to hand over your heart to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. It's a phase, not a verdict. But in that silent ache of being unseen, untouched, and unchosen, people often make the most dangerous decision. They give their soul to someone who only wants their silence. Someone who's just convenient, not committed. And that, my love, is how queens lose their crowns. Think of the nights when you sat on your bed, scrolling through your phone, watching everyone else in love, smiling, traveling, living, and there you are, alone. Your heart whispers, just find someone. Anyone. Just don't feel like this anymore. Some people find it, they don't get it. They don't feel like this anymore. But that's not love talking. That's the fear of solitude. That's the echo of maybe this is all I deserve. But tell me something. Would you rather lie next to someone who doesn't know your soul, or sleep alone in peace? One will leave you empty. The other will teach you how to overflow. So many women enter relationships just to fill a silence. But silence is sacred. It teaches you to listen to yourself. And when you settle for less, just because you're scared of your own company, you forget that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. You are not unwanted. You are unbothered. There's a difference. I've seen girls stay in dead-end relationships where the love feels like a duty, not desire. They're not seen, not cherished, not respected, but they stay because the fear of starting over feels heavier than the pain of staying. That's not love. That's loneliness dressed up as loyalty. And every time you allow it, you teach yourself that crumbs are enough, that half effort is acceptable, that survival is love. But you didn't come this far just to be tolerated. You were born to be treasured. Ever been in a room full of people and still felt alone? That's what happens when you choose presence over connection. Just because someone's body is near doesn't mean their soul is. You can be touched, kissed, but never felt. Spoken to, but never understood. So ask yourself, is it companionship or just a distraction from the void you refuse to face? Loneliness can drive you to lower your standards, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, to entertain texts from people who only message when they're bored, to convince yourself that late night hey texts are affection and inconsistent attention is effort. But you're not here to be someone's option. You're not a backup plan. You are the dream. You are the reason someone should rise, not the reason they stay stagnant. And don't let society rush you. Don't let the pressure of weddings, couples' vacations, and social media romances make you feel behind. You're not late. You're on time for your own story. And that story doesn't need a co-star if the script was never written for them. Just because a seat next to you is empty doesn't mean you're lacking. It means you're Rama is you ask you take you ask a question. You take a question. You reserving it for someone who truly deserves the view beside you. You want to know real power? Real power is knowing you could have someone tonight, but you'd rather wait for the one who stays every morning after. It's choosing peace over presence. It's saying, I'd rather be alone than half loved. Because one day someone will come, and they won't need convincing, reminding, or chasing. They'll just know. They'll see the solitude you mastered and fall in love with the woman who never settled, even when the nights were long and the silence was loud. So when loneliness creeps in, don't run toward chaos. Don't reply to old flames. Don't reopen doors that once closed for a reason. Instead, sit with yourself. Breathe. Remind yourself, this space I'm in now, it's sacred. And I won't pollute it with people who don't match the vibration of my becoming. Because a woman who's no longer afraid of being alone is a woman no one can play. Behave or quit when you're tired. Only quit when you're done. Because tired is temporary, but regret lasts forever. When you're tired, everything feels heavy. Your dreams seem distant. Your energy fades. And the voices in your head get louder. Is this even worth it? Why am I doing this? Maybe I should just stop. But tired isn't the enemy. It's a signal. It's your body saying, pause, not surrender. But that's it for the Daily Time Suck. Your podcast marks the season change. School feels a little bit more unreal. But that's okay. You're able to come back, but it's tough. Your podcast, there's a big difference between needing rest and deciding you're finished. Think about the athlete training day and night, pushing past the limits of breath, pain, and fear. There are moments when their legs shake, lungs burn, and the finish line feels like it's miles away. But they don't walk off the track because they're tired. They rest, rehydrate, regroup, and then run again. Because champions don't quit when it hurts. They quit when the race is over. That's what separates the ones who make history from the ones who become a forgotten whisper in the wind. There are students out there staring at books with tired eyes, failing exams, feeling like they're not smart enough. And right before they break through, they think about dropping out. But what if they stopped right before the breakthrough? What if the next try was the one that worked? Don't you dare quit because you're exhausted. Breathe, cry, scream, but keep going. Because the difference between a graduate and a dropout isn't talent, it's endurance. It's knowing the pain is part of the process. In relationships, people quit too soon. I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of being the only one who cares. But ask yourself, are you tired because it's wrong for you? Or are you tired because you haven't been heard, healed, or helped? Don't leave just because you're tired of the cycle. Break the pattern. Speak, stand, reset, but don't walk away from something just because it got heavy. Sometimes, the love of your life needs you at your strongest, not your easiest. And when it comes to building your dream, building yourself, this is where the world tries to convince you to quit the most. You start that business, create that content, write that book, chase that career, and at first, it's exciting. But then comes the silence. No followers, no results, no applause. Just work and waiting. And in that waiting, tiredness creeps in like a thief. But the greatest empires were built brick by brick in silence. You don't hear the roots growing beneath the tree, but one day it blooms. Stay through the silence. Stay through the struggle. Because when you're tired, your mind lies. It says, give up. But your soul is begging you to push through. Mothers don't quit raising their children because they're tired. Nurses don't quit mid-surgery because they've been on their feet for 14 hours. Firefighters don't walk out of burning buildings because the smoke is too thick. And you? You don't quit on your dream, your purpose, your calling just because the weight feels unbearable tonight. You rise. You rest. You roar again. The truth is, you can't always trust how you feel when you're tired. You rise. You rest. You roar again. The truth is, you can't always trust how you feel when you're tired. Exhaustion distorts perspective. It makes mountains out of molehills and convinces you that quitting is peace. But quitting isn't peace, it's postponement. And you'll wake up tomorrow still haunted by what you walked away from. So before you quit, ask yourself, am I done or am I just tired? Because when you quit while tired, you teach your mind that effort ends at exhaustion. But when you push through the fatigue and keep building, keep trying, keep standing, you tell the world, I am not here to break, I am here to finish what I started. Whether make promises out of guilt or fear. Because a promise made from pressure is a prison, not a bond. It's a leash tied to your spirit, pulling you in directions you were never meant to walk. But hear this. You don't owe anyone a commitment just because you feel bad or scared. You owe yourself honesty first. Guilt is a master manipulator. It doesn't shout, it whispers. If you really loved them, you'd say yes. They've done so much for you. How can you say no? But love isn't a debt, and gratitude doesn't require sacrifice of your peace. Think of that friend who always expects you to drop everything for them. The one who makes you feel like you're a bad person if you set a boundary. And so you say yes again. You cancel your plans. You rearrange your life. You swallow your exhaustion, and then you wonder why you're drained, why you're resentful. Because every time you promise from guilt, You abandon yourself to serve someone else's comfort. Fear, on the other hand, is louder. It screams, what if they leave? What if you lose them? So you say, I promise I'll stay. I promise I won't change. I promise I'll do better. Even when your soul is suffocating. Even when you know you're not meant to be there. You're not making a promise. You're making a survival pact. And nothing born from fear ever blossoms into freedom. Look around. Look at marriages built on fear of loneliness. Friendships maintained out of guilt for growing apart. Careers continued because of fear of starting over. All these promises made with shaking hands and silent hearts. And guess what? They don't lead to joy. They lead to quiet desperation. They lead to waking up every day wondering, how did I get here? You didn't choose it. You were guilted or scared into it. And what about the promise you made to always be available? To always be the good girl, the yes woman, the one who never lets anyone down. Where did that promise come from? Was it born from your values or from your fear of being disliked? Respected women are not the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who know when to say no. Because every no you speak with courage is a yes to your truth. A woman once told me she promised to marry a man not because she loved him, but because she didn't want to hurt him. She was afraid of being called heartless, afraid of being judged. So she walked down the aisle in a beautiful dress and a broken spirit. That's what guilt does. It dresses up sacrifice as love, but behind the smile is a silent scream. And years later she realized she never betrayed him, she betrayed herself. You need to know this. Real promises are rooted in clarity, not pressure. You should promise when your heart aligns, when your soul agrees, when your voice is steady, not when your hands are shaking, not when your throat is tight with fear, not when someone's tears are tricking you into carrying a burden that doesn't belong to you. You are not a savior. You are not a peace treaty. You are a person with a voice that matters. If someone needs a promise from you, let it be made with intention, not intimidation. Let it be a reflection of your strength, not your submission. Because the most dangerous promises are the ones you didn't believe in, but made anyway, just to keep the storm outside you from becoming a storm within. And now, take a breath. Feel that fire rising in your chest. That's not just emotion. That's recognition. That's your soul remembering who you are. Because life will throw you into storms where your emotions try to become your compass. But storms don't decide your direction. Your inner strength does. You've heard this today. Never decide your worth when you're rejected. Never quit when you're tired. Never make promises out of guilt or fear. These are not just suggestions. These are the golden rules of self-respect. These are the battle lines between the woman you were told to be and the queen you were born to become. You know why this speech matters? Because every single day, someone out there is making permanent decisions in temporary moments. Someone is marrying the wrong person because they're afraid of being alone. Someone is walking away from their dream because they're exhausted, not because they're finished. Someone is lowering their standards because their loneliness is louder than their self-worth. But not you. Not anymore. You were not created to shrink so someone else can feel tall. You were not born to be a filler in someone else's story. You were born to be the headline of your own legacy. And guess what? That means you're allowed to take your time, you're allowed to pause, you're allowed to rest, but you are never ever allowed to abandon yourself. Somewhere inside you is a woman who doesn't beg for love, she radiates it. A woman who doesn't need validation, she is her own proof. A woman who doesn't fear rejection because she knows rejection is simply redirection. Every delay wasn't denial, it was preparation. Diamonds aren't born in comfort, they're born under pressure. Let me tell you something you need to tattoo on your spirit. You can be soft and still be a warrior. You can be kind and still be unbreakable. You can be emotional and still be powerful. Your sensitivity is not your weakness, it's your superpower. Don't let the world convince you otherwise. You are not a second choice. You are not a backup plan. You are the prize. And the moment you start treating yourself like one, the world will either step up or step aside. Because people can only love you to the level you love yourself. Speak your truth, even if your voice trembles. Walk away from things that don't serve you, even if your knees shake. Stop negotiating with your worth. You weren't sent here just to exist. You were sent here to erupt, to awaken every sleeping part of you that once doubted her own greatness. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. And legends don't settle. Legends don't beg. Legends don't break when they bend. So if today you feel tired, rest, but don't quit. If today you feel guilted into staying where you don't belong, breathe, but don't promise away your power. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself, because you, my love, are not defined by the hands that dropped you. You are defined by the way you rose after the fall. You are not just a survivor. You are the storm that survival created. Say it with me. I am not here to play small. I am not here to make safe decisions out of fear. I am here to rise, roar, and reign. The world doesn't need another perfect woman. The world needs a real one. One who walks through fire and comes out gold. One who chooses courage over comfort. One who knows her worth even when the world forgets it. You are that woman. So stand tall, speak loud, and don't you ever, ever let tiredness, guilt, rejection, fear, or loneliness trick you into giving up your crown.